with the engineers and jump to the community call.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we are here in Palo Alto in the middle of the Science of Blockchains conference, where we presented our research on Babe just on Tuesday.
And David, at a high level, I know we'll get into it, but how was that presentation on Babe on Tuesday?
Oh, very good. So Science of Blockchain conference is the premier blockchain conference once every year, held at Stanford, New York, and Berkeley, rotate around the place. And in fact, last year, I gave a talk on Trustless Bitcoin Vault. That was when we just launched the white paper. We presented there. At that time, the technology that we used was barely making it. But 1 year later, we show a 1000x, in fact, 10,000x progress. And the community, the research community was rather impressed that we could take something that was barely working to 10,000x improvement within a year and launch a testnet, which I'm sure Fisher will talk more about.
Yep.
That is impressive. But fantastic. Let's get into it today. So as always, we've got a jam-packed agenda. So Fisher will go through an outline, but then at the end, like we always do, we're going to leave a little bit of time for some community questions. So Fisher, without further ado, off to you.
Yeah, sure. So actually, so as always, we start with a very quick background introduction of our project for new community members. So yeah, David.
Yeah, so Babylon started in 2022. So we've been around over multiple cycles, multiple crypto cycles, and we are a distributed team. We have 40 team members, 22 nationalities, and our focus from beginning to now has been the same. We love Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a 1.3 trillion asset today. It was much smaller when we started, but it was still substantial. And what to do with this asset? Bitcoin is 1.3 trillion, but right now most of it is sitting idle in wallets. And we want to make it productive. We want to use Bitcoin to make it productive, to benefit Bitcoin holders, and equally importantly, to benefit the rest of the crypto world. And our first product is Bitcoin staking, which we launched a year and a half ago. Today, the highest TVL was 60,000 Bitcoin. Today is still 40,000 Bitcoin. Lots of Bitcoin on the protocol. In fact, this is the largest Bitcoin protocol ever. Much larger than, for example, Lightning. Lightning has about 5,000 Bitcoin last time I checked. So this is a product that proved that if you build something native and trustless, then Bitcoiners will come. And currently, we're launching our second product, expanding on the theme of Bitcoin staking, which is to use Bitcoin as the collateral. But now this product allows Bitcoin to be used as collateral in general, not just for staking.
Yep.
Yeah, so Fisher, we should talk about this product or this protocol, or what's the What's the agenda?
So I'll briefly describe the outline, and then we can talk about the protocol in more detail. So
Okay, great.
Outline. So as David mentioned, we will briefly describe our new protocol, our new trustless protocol for the new community members, and also explain the first product we are going to launch. Then we will share our quarterly updates on our product readiness and the testnet and the baby token adjustment. And then we will then give the floor back to the community to ask questions. Okay, cool. Yeah, so going back to David to share with the community what is this trustless Bitcoin BTC Vault protocol.
Great. Okay. So, Bitcoin, you have your Bitcoin in your wallet right now. Nothing to do with the Bitcoin. So, you don't want to sell your Bitcoin either. So if you have an asset which you don't want to sell because you think the value will grow, like a house, what you want to do, you want to perhaps use it as a collateral to make it productive. And Bitcoin Trustless Bitcoin Vault is a technology which allows you to use this Bitcoin as a collateral, not by giving custody or giving title to someone else, but by holding it yourself, such that it can be used as a collateral subject to some objective rules for which who can withdraw this collateral. You can certainly withdraw this collateral, but whatever that others can withdraw, it has to be subject to objective rules, not the subjective decision of someone else. That is the core thesis of this protocol. And our first integration is with Aave. And so let's be concrete. So suppose you want to deposit this Bitcoin, and Aave will give you the objective rules. Aave will give you a loan in terms of, say, USDC. And now when you repay your loan, you can automatically get back your Bitcoin. Hey, this sounds like magic, right? Because to do that today, you have to give this Bitcoin to Coinbase, for example, to get some wrapped BTC in order for you to participate in a lending protocol like Aave or Morpho. But we want to get rid of the central party. Instead, what do? We use cryptography to replace the central party. The cryptography technology is called ZK proofs. So we want to be able to generate ZK proofs of the objective facts on Aave, for example, that you have repaid a loan. And based on that, Bitcoin can be automatically unlocked. And so what we achieved is you can retain your title, it's self-custodial trustless, no bridging, no wrapping. You don't have to create some tri-party agreement with some third party, and everything is verified cryptographically. And as I mentioned earlier, we developed a technology, and you may ask, hey, why don't people do this already? Bitcoin has been around 13 years. Why today? And that is because late last year, we came up with a breakthrough technology we call BAPE that allows ZK proof to be verified very efficiently on Bitcoin, so that the Ethereum state, the fact that you repay your loan, can be verified and unlock your Bitcoin on the Bitcoin chain without any committee or any third party to make that decision for you. Trust cryptography, don't trust other people.
Yep.
I like that. And David, I want to ask a question just on, it was a long-standing problem to make efficient ZK proofs practical. So BitVM2, in terms of, there was quite a high cost from my understanding to be able to perform this function. And then BitVM3, what was the challenges there? Was it around having to download a 40 gigabyte, packet onto your laptop?
Yeah, so usually when people build a ZK proof verifier on a blockchain, so several blockchains already have built this. For example, on Ethereum, you can actually verify proofs from, say, Optimism or from some rollup. Okay, if you have some rollup, ZK rollup, then you can actually verify that on Ethereum. But on Ethereum, you can write your verifier on a smart contract, and that's very efficient. Bitcoin has no smart contract, so you cannot easily write a program called a verifier on Bitcoin. Okay? Now, it turns out that after a lot of effort, people figure out how you can do that. But that turned out to be about 1 gigabyte, okay? So you have to put 1 gigabyte of data to verify one ZK proof on Bitcoin. Now, let's do the math. 1 gigabyte is 225 Bitcoin blocks. That's obviously just science fiction, not possible, okay? And so what we figure out, is that you don't have to do all of this, okay? All you have to do is that you can do some off-chain cryptography, okay? Such that when your ZK proof is correct, then this off-chain cryptography will automatically spit out a secret. And that secret can be recognized by Bitcoin, because Bitcoin cannot do too much. But what it can do is it can recognize a secret, right? Because when you spend your Bitcoin, what is Bitcoin recognizing? Is recognizing that you have the private key, okay? So Bitcoin is really great in doing one thing, which is recognizing secret. And what we did is basically we do some off-chain cryptography to generate secret upon giving a correct ZK proof. And that's really the breakthrough to make that happen.
Nice.
Yeah, cool.
All
Yeah,
right.
thanks, David.
Enough nerd spite. Let's go to the product.
Yeah, then let's talk about product. So yeah, this is the protocol. So basically, we allow a native Bitcoin to itself to become a collateral, so that we can create a native Bitcoin credit market. So this credit can be used for Ethereum on-chain as collateral. So to make this more concrete, okay. So once Bitcoin is collateralized, there are many things or many products one can build. The most intuitive and most base one that David mentioned is to collateralize Bitcoin to borrow stable coins and other assets on-chain. Okay. Also, once Bitcoin is collateralized, you can sell covered call options and deploy structured trading strategies. Because when you sell covered calls, you need to have the token pledged there to make sure your counterparty can exercise. Okay, and also with Bitcoin collateralized, you can issue secured credit cards so that you can spend against your Bitcoin. And also, following the over-collateralized debt position stablecoin model, we can also collateralize Bitcoin and issue Bitcoin-backed stablecoins, similar to how MakerDAO Sky works at the moment, which is currently backed by ETH. And then finally, Bitcoin collateral could have a potential big role in the insurance industry, because insurance industry require a sizable amount of the premium collected from the users to be collateralized as like a proof of payment, so that in case some claims can come in, the insurance company can guarantee that they can pay out. So Bitcoin can actually serve as this insurance reserve or reinsurance reserve.
In fact, I was just talking to someone at SBC, right? I was saying that this week was SBC, and exactly this person came to me and said, you know what, I'm building a product using Bitcoin as the insurance reserve to back up insurance premium. But his approach was to use tri-party. So the Bitcoin holder, the custodian, and then the insurance. But he said, tri-party is a great thing to start the product, but if I want to scale it up, many Bitcoin holders do not want to use a custodian, do not want to do a tri-party agreement. So to scale up his product, he really thinks Trustless Bitcoin Vault is the way to go.
Yep. So we got very positive feedback, like market validation on our Trustless BTC Vault protocol on the product. Okay. Yeah. So then, once Bitcoin is collectorized, there are many products that can be built, and eventually this will allow the Bitcoin holder to have access to liquidity one way or another through like stable coins, through the premiums they collect, through covered calls, through the spending using credit cards, stable coins, or unlock the premiums that it's collected, so that the liquidity can be used to have exposure to the entire world of yield, stocks, RWA, and anything you can do. Cool. So this is our vision for the Trustless BTC Vault protocol. Turning.
Yeah, in fact,
native-
for example, right, in the lending case, we are using Ethereum as an example.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, Ethereum is a very important blockchain, but actually, technology is much more general. The point is that if you have any objective fact, okay, that you agreed upon when you deposit your Bitcoin, then Trustless Bitcoin Vault make sure that only that objective fact will allow you to withdraw the Bitcoin. And that's really important. It's like you're signing a contract, and Trustless Bitcoin Vault makes sure that the contract is followed, and it does not require the trust on a third party to essentially change that contract. That contract cannot be changed. And that's essentially the spirit of smart contract. And what we're doing is essentially we're allowing smart contract capability on Bitcoin directly without going through a third party.
Yeah. So
And
this way,
Fisher, I want to ask a quick question.
please.
So, David and you have touched on the point. TBV is chain and application agnostic, so it's extensible to potentially hundreds of use cases. So how did you guys then ideate to say, look, we can go after credit cards in this example, insurance, a bunch of different use cases? Why did you then decide to go, well, actually, let's bring Bitcoin liquidity to Ethereum, and then let's go after, borrowing or lending use case? How did you guys make that decision to go after this as the first use case to show the value of this infrastructure?
Shall I take a crack, or Fisher, you want to take a
please.
crack? Yeah, so when we wrote the white paper last summer, we thought a lot about this question. Is that, on the one hand, Trustless Bitcoin Vault is a very general, basic infrastructure that allows Bitcoin's collateral and can be used for many applications, some of which Fisher has already gone through. But to build a product, you have to focus to get market feedback. You have to build something real. You cannot say, hey, let's build 100 different things and let people come and build it. You have to first validate the technology by building one thing well, by doing one thing well, okay? And so we thought hard about what that one thing should be. And we realized that lending is the biggest DeFi application. And Aave is the biggest lending protocol. And so that's why we're going after, and Ethereum is the biggest blockchain on smart contract. So we're going at the biggest thing.
Yep. So this is our current, the first product. Native Bitcoin-backed borrowing on Ethereum with Aave v4. Very concrete and specific, and also substantial product.
And also, lending is kind of the backbone, right, of DeFi. You think about it. Many things are built on top of lending. So after you borrow the stable, you can do many other things with it. So it's like the foundational thing. So one thing I would like to think about this product, okay, borrowing stable, is the following. So Bitcoin was designed as a payment system, right? Nakamoto designed Bitcoin not a general blockchain, not a universal computer, but for one particular application, which is payment. Now, however, Bitcoin never really became a payment system. Nobody really used Bitcoin to do payments. And the reason is because Bitcoin price still have some volatility, okay? And so you can think of what this borrowing stable product is. It essentially allows Bitcoin back to be a payment system by using it as a collateral to get USDC, which is stable, and therefore USDC can become the payment medium. So in some sense, we are indirectly using Bitcoin as a payment system without trusted third party. So I think we are in some sense pushing the vision of Nakamoto alone.
Yeah, totally agreed. Yeah, thanks, David. So I'll move on to explain.
Fish is so shocked. Fish is so shocked by what I said that he's like went silent.
I just want to be dramatic.
Is in deep contemplation.
Yeah.
Thanks, Fisher.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's dive deeper into product about this borrowing stable product. So the best way to describe it is to ask the question. Imagine you have 1 Bitcoin, okay, in your wallet and want to borrow stable coins against it. What are your current options? So currently you have 2 options. One option is going off-chain, say talking to Tether, talking to Binance or other exchanges, or talking to some OTC DEX such as Ledger. Okay, this is off-chain. Or you go on-chain by first wrap your native Bitcoin into WBTC, CBBTC, or other web version of BTC. Both solutions have their pros and cons. Okay, in terms of borrowing cost, the off-chain is very expensive, 7% plus, and the fee is very opaque. And indeed, for some OTC desks, the borrowing cost is like 10% plus. And they require, all these solutions require you to actually send your Bitcoin to a trusted third party. Okay, and then for off-chain solutions, you require KYC. It also you running into the risk of getting censored and get kicked with the permissioned system. The good thing of the off-chain solution, but to some people, is that they do have a counterparty they can sue in case things go south. Yeah, but that's a benefit only good to a small set of Bitcoin holders.
I'm sure a lot of people tried to sue Celsius, Fisher. I'm not sure how successful that was.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's very hard because like most companies, they design their structures very well and isolate legal risks. You can't count on suing someone to recover your loss. So the better route is actually to go on chain with a very secure system, so that you know exactly what you are getting. So on-chain solution, in terms of the capital efficiency, is much better compared to off-chain ones. On Aave, more for the borrowing cost of stable coins like 3 to 5%, and yeah, everything is transparent and on-chain. The only also there's no like censorship. It is censorship resistant because it is fully on-chain. The only problem, a big problem here, again, is that you need to wrap your Bitcoin by sending it to a third party, such as BitGlobal or Coinbase, right? And in many countries, this could actually trigger the capital gain tax issue as well. And also, if you don't really have a lot of Bitcoin, you can't actually wrap it by yourself. You will have to go to some trading desk to actually like sell your Bitcoin, native Bitcoin, to buy the wrap version. Then during this wrapping process, you already lose a few bips, so which is not good. So then here comes our product, native Bitcoin-backed borrowing, with the collaboration with Aave. So yeah, we give you the best of both worlds. It is totally transparent, lowest on-chain rates possible, 3 to 5%. For now, it is you don't need to send your Bitcoin to any third party. It is totally self-custodial, and because it is fully on-chain, there is no censorship. Yeah, so we believe this product will be the best lending product, a Bitcoin-backed lending product, once we launch it.
Fisher, I think there's one more thing I just wanted to add in terms of the kind of off-chain centralized. The other thing that, so I currently utilize a solution, and they also rate limit you in terms of they only allow you to borrow up to a certain amount. Typically it's 50%.
Yeah, 50%.
So they'll say if it's worth 100K, you can only borrow to 50. And then on top of that, to get some of these 7% rates, you actually have to either deploy a lot of capital, or in some cases, buy something within the network so that you can achieve a lower rate. So it's, to be honest, closer to like 12 plus maybe 15%, and the amount you can borrow is so much less. And then if there's an issue, well, you put your trust into them, and trust is a dangerous thing for Bitcoiners.
Yep, exactly. Okay, then so this is the product. Then in order to launch it successfully and have a sustainable, make the product sustainable, there are many things we need to do here. In the last community call, we shared about all the directions that we are working on. So this is our first update of our progress after the previous founders call. So there are 4 main directions. First direction, which is the most fundamental one, is to finish our integration with Aave. So to get native Bitcoin to be listed, accepted by Aave as a collateral asset, there are 3 steps. The first step is called a temp check, like a temperature check, which is a signaling acceptance by the Aave community. And the second step is called ARFC, the Aave request for comment. This one will be the formal acceptance of native Bitcoin as collateral with all the parameters determined after it is when it is passed. And then finally, it is AIP, Aave improvement proposal. That is the actual activation of the collateral on the mainnet. So ARFC is the most important step among the 3. So I'm happy to report that the temp check has been passed on the 10th of June, 2026, with very, very strong support from Aave community. So Aave founder Stanley also replied to the proposal with very strong support. And many community members mentioned that this is the Bitcoin product they have been waiting for. Cool. Then in terms of the ARFC, the estimation is mid-August, so about 2-3 weeks from now. We are currently working closely with Aave Labs, Llama Risk, and Centaura for the final reviews of the code and parameters. And once that's passed, we will determine a mainnet date and then submit AIP to activate the entire system. Okay, so this is the first direction to get the product ready. And then in terms of go-to-market, there are 3 things that are very important. First one is...
So Fisher, before you talk about go-to-market, let me say a few words about what my feeling about this process, right? If you think about it, I mean, in Web 2, when you launch a product, you just push the product out there. Here, we have to go through these multiple layers of review, and you may say, oh, this is very onerous. This is like a very slow process. But actually, for us, building a product, the number 1 consideration is security. Number 1 consideration is security. And going through these multiple levels, having independent entities like Aave Lab or Llama Risk or Centaura to review our system, to review our code, is just at multiple levels of security. In addition to our own internal security audits, we have actually 5 or 6 security auditors already looking at our code, has already looked at our code. And now adding these extra external parties is really great, I think, really great.
Indeed, it is super hard to add a new asset to Aave as a collector. Super, super hard. So we are doing quite well here, and it's as good as it could be. Then in terms of go-to-market, there are 3 aspects. First is like user acquisition of Bitcoin holders. Second is distribution partners, and 3 is the infrastructure partners. So in terms of user acquisition, we launched the testnet in late May, which will allow us to start reaching out to Bitcoin holders for them to become our customers. And so far, we have already announced like Bedrock, Go Mining, and 84 Labs, each with over 1,000 Bitcoin commitment. So in the coming days, we as our testnet progresses, as our go-to-market efforts continues, we will see, you can expect more announcements to come. Then in terms of distribution partners, it's really about the wallets. So hardware wallet side, the Ledger, which holds 20% of the Bitcoin, has actually started the integration of our protocol, because our protocol is not just simple Bitcoin transactions and signing. It does require some new cryptographic signatures and secret generations. So Ledger and hardware wallets and software wallet and MPC wallet, they actually need to develop something new in order to allow their users to use Trustless Bitcoin Vault. So hardware wallet, we got Ledger, Keystone, and OneKey. Ledger integration is ongoing, and Keystone and OneKey, the integration is actually done, and we are testing it at the moment. Software wallet, we already have UniSat wallet and OKX Wallet. They all fully support our cryptography. And actually, UniSat, the code base, is actually the upstream of many software Bitcoin wallet. Okay. Then, in terms of MPC wallet, we got Utila, which is a startup from Fireblocks engineers. So hardware wallet, software wallet, and MPC wallet represent 3 different types of users, Bitcoin holders. Hardware wallet represents the most conservative retailer users and whales. Software wallet represents the more aggressive individual users, and MPC wallet are more used by institutional Bitcoin holders. So by having the major hardware wallet, software wallet, and MPC wallet supporting TBV, we will allow TBV to serve a very wide spectrum of Bitcoin holders, both individuals and institutions. Okay. Then in terms of infrastructure partners, TBV is a multi-chain system with also off-chain components. So there are certain roles needs to be filled to make the whole system work, including like arbitrageurs and liquidators, vault providers, the zero knowledge challengers, and some governance and security roles. So we are also making very good progress in filling those roles. So we are very confident that when we launch the mainnet, the launch will be very smooth with all the roles ready. Okay, that's the progress overall. And then I would also like to report on our testnet. So the testnet was launched exactly 2 months ago on the 26th of May. So we have been live for 2 months and 4 days now. So during these 2 months, we have in total over 2,000 votes created, and there was some community member really stress test us by creating like 100 votes in like within 5 minutes to stress test us. So we don't know who this community member is, but thank you very much for stress test our system. So with the 2,000 votes created, the whole life cycle of the votes are very well tested, including the active, close, redeem, expire, liquidation. So all states of the votes have been very well tested by the community. And
so Fisher, what happened when the user tries to create, the community member tries to create 100 votes? Did the system stand out?
No, no, it didn't. We didn't expect someone to create 100 votes. So yeah, then
Interesting.
our testnet system does not have enough storage to handle that burst. So it actually the system actually stalled. The good thing is that no Bitcoin is lost. Those vote creation attempts just naturally got expired, so that the tester get their Bitcoin back after some time.
Well, the test Bitcoin, right? The SBTC.
The test SBTC, yeah, of course, SBTC. So yeah, so then after that, we upgraded our testnet infrastructure with bigger memory, bigger storage. Then the problem is solved.
But this is good, right?
I
Fisher?
guess
This
in
is
the
what we
real,
want.
I guess in the real system, we have anti-spamming methods, which is basically saying that you have to cost you something to create a vote.
Yep.
But I guess on the testnet, this is not effective because it
Yeah,
costs
there's no
nothing
real money.
to create any
Yeah.
vote. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for spamming.
Thank you for spamming.
Yeah. So so our marketing team, led by Tristan, also did community testing survey. We got 70 very senior community members actually participate in this survey. Yeah, they done the testing, tried out all the possible actions that you can do with the votes, like abuse the system, and then take our very long survey, and then which helped us really get a lot of good feedback. And as an appreciation, we also provide some rewards. So in total, about $5,000 USDC. We as our gratitude to the community members who participated in this survey. So according to the survey result, 97% of the people feel that, okay, once the vote is created, the subsequent actions such as borrow, repay, and withdraw is very smooth and very intuitive. Yeah. So, and also 85% of the people, community members mentioned that, they will actually use TBV once it is launched on the mainnet. So, which is very encouraging to us. And of course, there's also things to improve. 49% of the users are unsure if their votes was progressing because the vote because it is on the Bitcoin chain, right? So any action take about like 1 hour, to confirm. So the vote creation and confirmation process is long and not clear, which makes people uncertain about whether the vote has been created successfully or not. Yeah, so that's why we received the feature request about a better explanation and display about the status of the vote. So we have taken the community feedback very seriously, and we have completely redesigned our UI, which I can share in a bit, so that it become more premium feeling, more institutional, and more intuitive.
Yeah, and I think, Fisher, just on that note, this is very beneficial for us. So we obviously do a lot of testing internally, but the more external testing that we get as well, the better we can improve our product. And like you'll be able to show in a minute, we take this very seriously and do improve the UI and UX and make a lot of changes so that we can address the comments. So again, to the community, thank you for doing this. There is likely to be more opportunities to test in the future as well.
Yeah. So, as a small alpha,
for a startup.
this is the first step.
Yeah, for a startup, getting customer feedback, getting user feedback is the most important thing in developing a new product for startups. So really appreciate that.
Yeah. So now I'm sharing a sneak peek of the new version of the testnet we are going to launch. Yeah, it looks much more professional, and we make a lot of changes to make it more intuitive for users.
And this is on DevNet internally, isn't it, Fisher?
Yeah, this is on testnet, and we are going to roll out hopefully next week. Okay, and then about baby updates. So community members may notice that there are many validators announcing that they are actually shutting down their business. For example, Cosmos Station is like quitting the validator business, and also some other big names also announcing that they are quitting validator business. So I think this is actually a good chance for us to actually discuss with the validator community and prioritize the validations and foundation delegation towards contributors and participants of TPV, such as the infra partners that we mentioned in the early slides. So yeah, overall, we are discussing with the validator community on reducing the validator set and prioritizing the foundation delegation to TPV participants, so that like baby token can serve as a like entry requirement for TPV participants. So for now, we will do foundation delegation to allow them in. In the future, once TPV picks up with traction, we will actually require the TPV participants to like buy and stake baby by themselves in order to become the participants. So this is a direction we are heading towards the baby token utilization and also the validator and foundation delegation and staking. Okay. Meanwhile, we continue to work with A16Z and to designing the TPV value accrual and how the value created can be channeled to the Babylon ecosystem, and we are designing simulation to make sure whatever we design will be sustainable and without any bugs. Yeah, that's the update on the baby side. So in a nutshell, yeah, we are gearing baby tokenomics towards the adoption of TPV and the value capture of TPV. Okay, then yeah, last slide. What to expect for the next 3 months? So yeah, we are going to release new testnet with brand new institutional UI with a streamlined and faster experience. So previously our testnet required like 3 hours to launch, which is quite kind of fast already. But our research, thanks to David's team, has further shortened it to about 1 to 1.5 hours. So it is the farthest you can get, because Bitcoin site alone require like 1 hour confirmation.
Down to 1.5. That's a 50% improvement.
50% improvement, and you cannot go faster than this physically, because
if it's faster than an hour, it can't be native, right?
Yeah. If it is faster than an hour, you are not working with the Bitcoin chain.
So let me say a few words about that before we end, because you know the thing is that security is the number one thing I mentioned, right? So we don't want to take any shortcut, and we need to respect the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yep.
The Bitcoin blockchain has a very inherent security measure by waiting for a transaction to be confirmed, by waiting to be 6 block deep. 6 block deep. 6 block is what? 1 hour. So inherent in Bitcoin, there's already this 1 hour confirmation. And our protocol, if I tell you that our protocol can confirm in 1 minute, then you should be very concerned. You should be very concerned about this. So 1.5 hours is really sort of hitting the physical limit of Bitcoin.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And once the new testnet is launched, we will conduct another round of community testing survey, to get more feedback from the community to keep improving our product. And before mainnet, between the new testnet launch and mainnet, we will also launch a bug bounty program so that the community researchers and white hat hackers can help us find bugs and get rewarded. Yeah. So this is the first to expect. Second, as I mentioned earlier, yeah, we will have more announcements on user acquisition and partnerships coming in the next 3 months. And then also we will have the baby tokenomics adjustment governance proposal coming as well. And then finally towards the mainnet launch, hopefully, by October this year. So in 3 months' time.
That's exciting. That's coming up fast.
Yeah, time flies.
Time flies.
Time flies.
Time flies when you're working hard.
Yeah. So
fantastic. Yeah, so thank you, Fisher and David, for that. Thank you for that succinct run through. Let's go through a few community questions, and I'll kind of direct it to Fisher or David. So this is actually directed at you, David. So I see David talking about AI a lot. Is Babylon integrating or looking to do anything with AI, such as agentic lending or borrowing?
Yeah, certainly AI is very important for our project. The number one thing about we're using a lot of AI in building this Trustless Bitcoin Vault product. AI is improving our efficiency of coding the system, but more importantly, AI, we're working really hard, and I think we're one of the cutting-edge startups to use AI in our security auditing process. We have our own developed AI system to do security audits. Agentic use of AI for interacting with the Trustless Bitcoin Vault is certainly something we're working on. But I must say it's a bit of an early stage because, trusting Bitcoin to an AI agent, I think it would be quite a hurdle for many Bitcoin holders. And so this is something definitely we are working on, but it's not going to be something we launch on day one. Yeah.
Bitcoin is a very specific, right? Which it's such a valuable asset. You're very protective of that asset.
Yeah, and there are a lot of security issues of AI agent handling crypto asset right now that a lot of people are working on. For example, there's a lot of prompt injection, so-called prompt injection, which basically entice the AI agent to spit out your secret private key. You don't want that to happen. So I think there are a lot of issues that needs to be resolved before we can have AI agents using Trustless Bitcoin Vault, but certainly a good direction. And when we design our product, we are definitely thinking about in the future integrating with AI agents.
Yeah, agent-friendly infrastructure.
Great point. Actually, you've answered this question, Fisher. So the question was around, do we have an idea around mainnet? And you mentioned, start of Q4 could be around October. Yeah, so is there anything on that note just in terms of something that could move that back a little bit? David spoke about security, so Q4, is that a good date to work towards? Should be October, but there could be, if audits find something. Is that the way to think about it as well? So it's not rushed to get this live, it's security first, it should be live, in October?
Yeah, so the reason we set October is that according to our plan, internal and external security audits and testnet and bug bounty, we expect that by October we should be able to resolve all the potential issues that the audits can find. Yeah, so we set it to October. But in order to launch it, it really depends on a lot of factors. Yeah. Readiness of the code based on security audits, our go-to-market status, and which shouldn't be an issue at all, and also some like macro economics, and also how advanced the AI hacker is.
And Fisher, just remind me, we've had 6 audit firms plus a 7th, which is actually our own AI internal auditor, auditing this technology. Is that correct?
Yes, 6.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot, because this is our protocol is like one of the most cryptographically deep protocol in the world. So we hired multiple top security teams to look at the entire protocol holistically or specialized in a certain piece of the protocol, such as the BABE algorithm that David mentioned earlier.
And then also, you mentioned earlier in the presentation, David, go for it. You're on mute, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the one reason why we're 6 auditors is because our protocol actually has multiple aspects to it. One, it has the cryptography, the BAPE that we mentioned. Two, it is a cross-chain protocol, and so there's a lot of interaction between blockchains. Three, there's a smart contract component because we're integrating with Aave, so we need to write smart contract to provide that integration. And so we have different auditor firms with specialty in different aspects of this.
Yep. And there's actually more, right, Fisher? You mentioned before that, through this process, Aave is also looking in detail at our infrastructure. And then from an AI perspective, David mentioned we've actually created our own internal AI auditor, which has been quite beneficial for us.
Yeah. So if you add all the numbers up, including Aave's engineering team, Llama Risk, Centaura, I would say, 10 audits or scrutinies against our protocol.
Security
in fact,
first.
One of the big research topic in the research team right now is how do we give enough intelligence to the AI agent about what our protocol security properties are that we want to achieve, so that it can look at our code base and see whether they're consistent with these security goals or security objectives. And so we are certainly working very hard on this problem.
Awesome. Now, 3 more questions. I think this is an interesting one. So David, you touched on it before, actually at a high level. So during the kind of severe downturn, Babylon has held on to the majority of BTC staked. David, you mentioned at peak we were 60,000 plus. It's actually 49,000 now. So even as most protocols lose 60 to 80% of their staking, we've remained strong. Then the next part is, so that's a statement. This question is, how many of these stakers do you think will convert into TBV users?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So first of all, let's think about answer the question, why is there still such a large number? So actually there's an interesting evolution of the stakers. Fish and I actually did some analysis on the evolution of stakers. In fact, the stakers right now is quite different from the stakers in the beginning of the launch of the Bitcoin staking. And if you look at the stakers right now, a lot of the stakers are from users on exchanges actually, staking on the Babylon protocol. And the reason why these guys are not here in the beginning is because exchanges are super conservative. They have to look at the protocol and wait for it to become more mature before they come in. So the reason why I go this long roundabout way is that also if you transition to TBV, okay, then you expect that other new users will also come into TBV. But the exchange users may not be the first ones because they're also quite conservative about a new protocol. So whereas we expect in the long term, a lot of these guys will transition, but maybe not immediately in the beginning. In the beginning, it will be some other users, just like Bitcoin staking. In the beginning, it was some other users.
And I want to extend on that question, actually. So David and Fisher, you've both, and across the team, have spoken to a lot of capital allocators. So you've gathered a lot of insights from them. When you speak to them about this product, do they look at this and think, this is fantastic in terms of maintaining title, I can clearly understand the risk, but do they then think about this for, well, if I borrow at X and then I've got my own, yield-based options, I can actually potentially use this for yield generation. So can you share some of the insights from some of these conversations?
Yeah, sure. So what we are launching is a borrowing product, okay? But it should be a reason for borrowing. You don't just borrow for nothing, right? So when we talk to capital allocators, talk to Bitcoin holders, almost everyone wants safe yield. So, and our protocol, our product actually meets these two requirements perfectly. So first, on the safe side, yeah, it is trustless, self-custodial, so they don't have to risk sending their Bitcoin to anyone else. And second, in terms of the yield, our protocol allow the users to borrow stablecoin at the, I think one of the low, well, legally I cannot say lowest, like the very, very competitive on-chain rate, so that it's kind of borrowing money at cheap money, so that you can deploy it into yield products, so can capture the spread. So the lower your borrowing cost, the higher the potential yield you can generate.
And David, what's one of the biggest insights that you've got from a product point of view? So when you speak to them, what's kind of the one thing that they look at and say, that is very unique, that is something that really appeals to me?
Yeah, I think this idea of, as I already mentioned, example is this insurance product that this person talked to me about at SBC. I think the ability to not having going through a third party is really something that's quite appealing. Not necessarily to institutions, because institutions already use custodian, but to the broader Bitcoin community, that you just don't need to go through a third party. I think that's something that would be attractive for a lot of people building products on top of TBV. Remember, TBV is infrastructure. TBV is infrastructure. We're certainly using it to build the first product, which is the integration with Aave to enable borrowing on Aave. But our vision is that TBV should be used for a lot of people for building very many different products. And I think that's really appealing, that no third party.
Yeah. Trustless, self-custodial, permissionless.
Trustless, self-custodial, permissionless, maintain title.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Two more questions, and just kind of extending off actually just what you said, David. So one of these questions here is around, does the team see Babylon primarily as a product or an infrastructure company?
So this question is for me?
Yes. Yep.
All right. Okay. All right. A startup is always about building a product. Okay? So I don't see your question as either or, because infrastructure is also a product. Okay?
Yep.
And so the question is, what kind of product? The question should be, what kind of product? So right now, we are focused on building a Bitcoin-backed borrowing product on Aave, okay, using TBV. So that's the product we're launching with. Now, based on this first product that we launch, we'll get feedback, and that feedback will help us to shape whether we want to go vertical, okay, or we want to go horizontal. And so these are the two directions, but both are product. It's just product of somewhat different nature. And so we'll see. But we have a very concrete product we're launching.
What better way to test the infrastructure than to test it with a product?
It's a dog food.
Yeah, eat your own dog food.
You have to, right? How do you prove infrastructure without the product? So it's a chicken and egg in that example. Okay, and then the last question, and actually Fisher, this goes back a little bit to the example you had before with a multitude of different use cases. So beyond, native Bitcoin-backed borrowing, which additional use cases of native BTC collateral are the highest priority? And then how do you maintain capital efficiency without reintroducing kind of what we've seen, which is a wrapped component to it, or having to focus or rely on an intermediary?
Yeah. So after the borrowing product, the highest priority for us will be actually evolve that product with our ecosystem partners to offer more tailored borrowing product for Bitcoin holders, such as fixed rate borrowing that we are working on with ages, and also the covered call options that leverage the borrowing capacity that enabled by our Aave integration. So that is basically what David mentioned as the vertical integration. So based on the Aave integration, the more like premium or sophisticated use case on top of the basic variable rate borrowing. That will be the immediate next focus afterwards. And then in the longer term, we wish to see more distinct use cases of native Bitcoin collateral, such as credit cards and stable coins and insurance. Yeah, so we are also talking to teams to explore all these longer term opportunities.
Fantastic. Well, we're at the hour now, so that wraps us up. David Fisher, thank you again. We'll be back for the next edition of the Quarterly Founders Call in October. But thank you very much for the updates and the insights. I know we personally are very excited on the road to mainnet. And I think the community has shown a lot of excitement as well. So it's a very exciting time, a very hardworking time. I know the team is doing a lot. So thank you both for your time, and we're looking forward to talking to you again in October.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tristan. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.